Hello, and welcome to your second edition of the Hotline Live tonight with Record Sport. You can see Keith's delighted to be here.
Wow. Do you know what? I think I should be sitting here with a pair of underpants in my head and two pencils up my nostrils. I don't know what I've just watched there. I don't know. I don't know what that. I don't think I've got the words to describe what that was. Do you know, Daniel? I've watched a lot of football games in my life. I'm now 52 years of age. I've been at the Daily Record for 30 years next month. I don't know how many games of football I've watched in my life. I'm not sure that I've seen anything just quite like that. I genuinely don't know what just happened. Other than to say that Celtic have done it. They've got there. We said at the 6 p.m. show tonight, that was at the end of the day all that mattered. I was tipping 3-0 Celtic. Place will be jam-packed. The atmosphere will be too much for young boys. Celtic will get on top of it. They'll control it. They'll get a couple of goals up and they'll score a third. They could have scored 3 in the first 20 minutes.
Aye.
They had the ball in the net times in the first half hour. They've missed a penalty. And the second half was just, I don't know. I get it. Nerves probably kicked in for the players. Nerves were probably kicking in the stands.
They must have been tired as well.
And by the way, the pitch looks really energy sapping.
It does. It looks a bit ropey.
But do you know what? They found a way. And that's what we keep saying about the Celtic side. They found a way. I'm not sure how they found a way. One of the most bizarre winning goals you'll ever see in your life. But do you know something? Let's just enjoy the moment in terms of a Scottish club reaching the playoff stages of the Champions League. We thought that was going to be Celtic's target. We knew it was Celtic's target at the start of the campaign. It was going to be interesting to see how they negotiated the road to get there. The final twist, incredible. Just an incredible watch, an incredible night, incredible game of football. And isn't it nice to see a Scottish side come out on the right end of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Some comments coming in already, Keith. This one we need to start with. William Sloan. First things first. Congrats to champion tipster Daniel Caws. The advice I had on score 1-0. Name your favourite charity and I'll make it.
William, I bet you were cursing them all the way through that first
half. Sam McGowan.
Wrong.
Not good for the Hearts. Schmeichel man in the match. I think it's worth saying, Keith, Celtic obviously have won. They're through. That save, double save in the second half from Schmeichel was nothing short of world class.
Astonishing. The first save I thought was, and I'll defer to Joe Hart on this. I think he knows it a bit better than me. I thought the first save was just utterly sensational. Yeah. And then when you see the slow motion, it takes a deflection. I think it came off Trusty. The second shot on the way back through. I'm not sure that he can, I'm not sure that he even reacts to that. I think his legs just what it is. First save was unreal. By the way, even the save in the 5th minute of injury time. And I know there wasn't a lot of power on the shot, but he still had to get across. He still had to make the save. It was still a big pressure situation. It's just the whole thing was astonishing. And before we start, Schmeichel, yes, unbelievable, brilliant performance. Alistair Johnson, out of this world, right back. I thought him and Greg Taylor were huge performers in the full-back roles. Callum McGregor, I run out of superlatives.
What more can you say, I know?
All over the midfield. And see, when it was getting hairy and it was getting tense, McGregor's just that calming influence. A terrific performance from him. Tati's had better games, but come up with that killer pass for the goal. The wide men in Maida and Kuhn did exactly what we thought they were going to do. They terrified young boys all the way through the first half, then fell out of it. Maida's silly red card. Kyogo, we were saying what sort of night we were going to get from him, and he's basically scored a hat-trick, but none of them counted in the first half.
He's seen the red card. Did you think it was a red?
You can't do it. You just can't. It was just silly. And understand that he felt he was getting nibbled, but he reacted badly, and he's taken a swipe. And as soon as the referee get asked to go over the screen, you just knew it was coming.
A few guys saying in the comments it was harsh. I'm like you though. I think at this
you can't do it.
You Can't
just
do it.
can't do it. In fact, do you know something? And fair play, because we're not always quick to applaud the officials, but see all the key decisions tonight. I think you pretty much got them all right. You could maybe make an argument that Celtic could have had 2 penalties in the first half, and then maybe the one.
I thought the one in Maida was a Stonewall.
Well, I thought it was more clear than the one that Celtic did get.
Yeah.
But it's like anything. If the referee sees it at full speed, was it a clear and obvious error? Either one of them? No. So will VAR intervene at that point? Probably not. At full speed, it just looked as if there was a bit of a coming together. It was a bit awkward. It was, when you saw the slow motion replays, you thought it was actually a strong case here for Celtic. But was it enough for VAR to say it was a clear and obvious error by the referee? I'm not sure it was. And same with the Greg Taylor one. If they made them go at the screen at that point, would the penalty still have stood? I don't know. Maybe Arne Engels would hope that it had been ruled out. But oh my God, honestly, I mean, see football. Honestly, just when you think you've seen it all, that was astonishing. An astonishing 95 minutes of football tonight.
Aye. Comments are coming in thick and fast. Let me throw a couple at you. L here on YouTube. Hatate back to top form. He, Engels and Kalmak owned that midfield. The defence was solid. Maeda was unlucky to see red. Just on Engels, Keith. I mean, he'll be very relieved in the dressing room tonight after that.
Oh, he looked absolutely distraught.
The penalty was rotten, though. It was a terrible penalty.
Yeah, and it's not like him. He's a clean striker of the ball. Usually, I don't think I've seen a penalty kick where he's done the stutter with the run up. But there was actually, you could see the camera pan straight into his face as he was standing over it. And you just got that feeling he looks a bit nervous. It was clearly such a big moment for him. Such a big moment for Celtic, such a big moment for Scottish football. Weight of the world on his shoulders, it felt. I wasn't confident when he stood up. But you know what? He had a terrific game up until that point.
Yeah.
After that, he struggled a bit. I think it was weighing on him. And you can understand that as well.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, then there's bits. I mean, I think 5 minutes into the second half, they went through this period about 10, 15 minutes where every single 50-50 or second ball or break of the ball seemed to go in young boys' favour. And you're thinking, after that first half performance for Celtic, absolutely battered them to death for 45 minutes and came off the park at 0-0. And the second half, you just felt, this is getting away. And then, of course, we wouldn't be fans of Scottish football if you weren't sitting there watching the substitution get made with Cedric Eaton comes on, and you can't help but think, oh, that's not how this ends, is it?
I know.
But
Absolutely.
I mean, honestly, and I know I don't at the risk of repeating myself, football. I mean, that's why we can't get enough of it. It's why we keep watching it. It's why after 52 years, I'll never get sick of it. You just honestly, Forrest Gump moment, life's like a box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're going to get next. For it to end like that, with the clear-cut chances Celtic had created, with everything that had gone on in the game, for it to end with Adam Ida, who you think he should score when he's got turned. Then you think the opportunity's gone, he's missed it. Ricochet off the defender and into the back of the...
Madness.
Listen, do you know what? I'd usually be there at this minute in time trying to write a match report, and I wish the boys all the best because I don't know where to start with that.
Aye, I know. Well, look, on Ida that you mentioned, a lot of comments on him. John saying here that he just paid back $2.5 million of his transfer fee right away. That, as you say, Keith, see when he turned and I thought, he's missed. That was a real sliding doors moment for him, because if that doesn't come off the defender and go in, it's another, big moment for him that's kind of gone awry.
And do you know, the hope has to be, because I've been saying about him for a while, I think he's streaky. I think that we're just waiting for one to go in off his backside or whatever, maybe get his confidence up and all. But with that one, I think it's sheer relief.
Aye.
It's not, UEFA won't give it to him, it won't go down as his goal, but it's still a huge moment. He's still played his part in it. And you wait to see. It could go either one or two ways. Where he goes home tonight and he's kind of replaying it through his head, and he still can't believe that he's not buried it at the first attempt. Or does it go the other way? Does he get a real kind of boost out of the fact that he's played such an important part in a goal which has got a pretty has marked a historic milestone, hasn't it? I mean, that's how many years has it been now? Over a decade since Celtic.
2012 was the last knockout year for Celtic, aye.
So, big moments, but nobody, the best will in the world can watch that 90 minutes and say that Celtic didn't deserve the win. How they got it, still not sure. But it was, as I said, the game should have been over in half an hour.
Yeah.
And young boys were exactly what I thought they were going to be. They were terrified of the atmosphere, terrified of the occasion. They were all over the place at the back. Kuhn and Maida were running amok down the flanks. Kyogo was, his movement was, they had no match for it.
You said in the first show earlier on, Keith, that it could turn out another Bratislava night, and it could have been on another night. It could have
been way bigger than Bratislava. Celtic could have come off that park. Nobody could have argued if they were 4 or 5-0 up at half time. That's how dominant they were in the first half. But maybe because of the occasion, maybe because of the edginess, maybe because of the importance of it all, Maida and Kyogo didn't need to get themselves into these offside positions. They were burning for pace, so just a little bit too keen. The McGregor, the one that's called back for the foul by McGregor at full speed, I didn't see a foul. I just thought it was brilliant for McGregor to anticipate where the ball was going to go, to get there, rob the guy. And then not only does he do all that, then he's the presence of mind, the composure just to roll that ball into Kyogo, because he knows, look, you've got a better chance of finishing this than I do. On you go, fill your boots.
Yeah.
Kyogo goes through. This one looks as if it does go. And then you see the slow motion replay. And again, as I said, to be fair to the officials, I don't think they get very much wrong. And all these big calls were correct, as hard as it was for Celtic to stomach at that point in the game.
Yeah. Well, again, tons of comments coming in. Thanks so much. Get involved in the conversation if you want. D-Mans raises a good point. Amazing about Celtic. About time Celtic got the run of the ball in Europe. It's a free hit at Aston Villa. A couple of months for Celtic coming up. And William, who's full of great comments tonight, he says, too much to ask for a win at Villa and a place in the top 8. I mean, that would be pretty remarkable.
Do you know, I haven't even had time to work it all out.
Me neither.
And I haven't looked at the other results, so I'm not exactly sure how it's all set up for that final night. What I do imagine is that Villa probably, having been setting a decent pace since the start of the competition. I think the first game was not a win over Bayern Munich, so they've sort of been flying into this competition. I know they've had a couple of speed bumps along the way, but Villa will really be thinking that top 8 place is up for grabs for them, and they'll go strong in that match, I would imagine, if they need to get the result to guarantee that. And
of course Celtic will be missing Maeda, which could be crucial.
Yeah, silly, isn't it? He shouldn't have done it. But you know what? It's the Champions League. It's so unpredictable. It throws up these anomalies and incredible occasions. And Celtic are going to go into that game, the final game of the campaign, with nothing on it. It's genuinely a free hit. Go down there, enjoy yourselves, give them a game. There's no pressure on, because you've done what you set out to do at the start of this. So go there and give them a game. Mm-hmm. We'll tomorrow night we'll see Rangers go to Old Trafford, and as we discussed in the 6 o'clock show tonight, you're looking at that going, well, there's no reason for Rangers to feel intimidated by this. Granted, Villa are a far better side than United, but Celtic are a far better side than Rangers, judging by the league table. So why not? Why not go down there? Give it a blast. I don't know what John McGinn's situation is like, injury-wise, but Villa have struggled without him. So, I know he'll be desperate to play in that game. But look, Daniel, see, after that tonight, I think I'm going to stop predicting anything. because that was mental.
Aye. Well, look, the other thing that we haven't mentioned yet is the financial implications. I believe it's €6.5 million Celtic get just for reaching the playoffs. And look, I know I'm asking you how long it is a piece of string, but do you think that'll influence the January transfer window at all? We've talked about Tierney.
I don't think that the actual extra cash will change anything in terms of what Celtic are aiming to do. I told you all along that I think they'll be trying to get Tierney in before the end of this window. The cash, £6.5 million, Celtic have got so much money. What it might do is it might just shift the ambition level a little bit. It just might move the dial on that. The Celtic look at this and say, do you know what? Maybe there's a player out there that they're looking at for £10 million, and maybe Brendan Rodgers can now persuade them, look, if you give me this player, then it might just make a difference going into these knockout phases. Now, there has to be an element of realism. I don't think, even though there'll be Celtic fans that are high as a kite right now, I don't think anybody on here, and tell me if you disagree, guys, but I don't think there's any Celtic fan that realistically expects Celtic to go on from here to win the Champions League. And I don't think if you had a £10 million signing target in mind, that would make the difference in terms of going all the way in this competition. But you know, Brendan Rodgers might be in a position now where he can encourage them to push the boat out a little bit further than maybe they had anticipated doing. I still think, as I said, and Kieran Tierney, if that does happen now in the next couple of weeks before the transfer window closes, it just adds another layer of feel good, doesn't it, to a situation which can hardly feel much better for Celtic right now.
Look, I know that I'm going off like a pinball here on different tangents, but I think this is important to mention. D-Man's talking about the Atalanta point was pure gold. I mean, see, looking back on that now,
D-Man's had quite a lot of clever comments, didn't he?
Aye, he has to be fair. But I watched them last night, Atalanta, and they're I mean, as if we didn't already know, but they're a serious outfit. Getting a point away at them was sensational.
They're top notch. And it wasn't, you don't even take it in isolation. You can take it in isolation and say, but on the back of what happened to Celtic and Dortmund, for Brendan Rodgers, who did say after Dortmund, and I'll keep pointing this out, he said that we're not going to change, he did change. He made fundamental changes. He didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but he tightened Celtic up. He made them more difficult to play through. He did all the things that a good manager should do. He showed a little bit of pragmatism, even though he doesn't like the word. And, you know, maybe a Big Ange Postecoglou is, you know, a lesson. I think it's too late in the day. I don't know if he'll adopt something similar at Spurs. I doubt it very much. But Brendan Rodgers said he wouldn't change, and he did change, and it was the right change. And Celtic's performance that night, and I described it on the night or the day after, I think you remember, I said that felt to me like a coming-of-age performance for Celtic in the Champions League. And everything that's happened since then would sort of justify that comment. Although, you know, I'll add the caveat of tonight's second half was a fairly uncomfortable watch for periods. Look, and I didn't expect that. But I think all you can do is take into account the monumental sort of pressures and the tension that was involved in that second half tonight. Mm-hmm. And ultimately Celtic found a way through, so it don't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, this is the other thing that I wanted to raise with you, Keith, before we wrap up. Easy Man points out that as it stands, Celtic play Bayern Munich in the playoff round. Of course, there's another match day and it'll be like musical chairs. The teams will move around. But, I mean, it's just a great place for Celtic to be where they can look at the cream of the continent's talent and, you know, who are we going to face?
It's exciting times, isn't it? But I think the way it's worked out, and unless I'm very much mistaken, I think it's almost like a seeding part of the draw now. In this, it's almost like the tennis at Wimbledon. So the teams that finish up the top, so first and second can't play against each other. First will go down and play against whatever it is, 20, somewhere between 24 and 18 or whatever it is, Daniel. So yeah, there will be, put it this way, you will have a fairly good idea going into the last round of games who your potential opponents look like.
Yeah.
At this minute in time, if it was Bayern Munich, well, maybe 3 points at Villa wouldn't go amiss after all.
It's worth mentioning Bayern Munich were battered tonight at Feyenoord. They lost 3-0, which is a surprising scoreline. But look, I know they can. I know it's all about where you finish and stuff. But if you're Brendan Rodgers, we talked about how they would have handpicked tonight's opponents.
Yeah.
If he could handpick the playoff team, who do you think he'd go for? Or is there or is it just...
You having a laugh, mate? I've just told you, I have not got a clue. I'm still trying to get my head around what I've just watched. I've not got a clue. And by the way, not only that, but I then had to find a way of getting this graphic up on my TV. With 2 minutes to spare. And I could hardly remember my own name at this point. That's what I'm saying. I was genuinely underpants in the head. So I'll ask me that question tomorrow when I've had the chance to look at everything, and I couldn't tell you any of the other results. I was just totally engrossed in that 95 minutes there of absolute and utter mayhem.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, a couple of comments before we wrap up, Keith. I know we've all got beds to go to. Jeff here's pointing out that 9th place 24th, 16th place 17th, and so on. George Robertson says he lost a bit of stone watching that. Calmac was immense. 2 centre-halves were incredible. I think that's worth mentioning. We know Carter Vickers, we know he's a brilliant player. Trusty's been a bit up and down. I thought he was good tonight.
Yeah. I thought actually that what surprised me was the first couple of minutes, and it was only a couple of minutes. I actually thought big Carter Vickers looked as if he was sizing up the striker he was up against and didn't look too comfortable. But as ever, Carter Vickers susses it out. He works it out, as Callum McGregor does. Callum McGregor works out. It might take him 5-10 minutes to take a look around him and work out who's moving where, who's going where, what the game plan is. But they're 2 guys that Brendan Rodgers can absolutely hang his hat on. Cameron Carter Vickers and McGregor. I thought McGregor was sensational, and I know that I keep banging on about him, but I really genuinely think he's that good. But Trusty, yeah, he needed a big performance tonight, and do you know what? He won his fair share of headers. Did everything that he had to do defensively well. Distribution was okay, but I think Celtic will look back on it ultimately once the kind of dust settles. I think they'll be pretty disappointed with the second half performance.
Yeah,
but just delighted with having the wherewithal to get through it. I just felt it was unlike Celtic. It was unlike what we've seen in these recent games, where I felt they lost a bit of composure. But there's all sorts of elements that come into that, and do you know what? All that mattered was getting 3 points, and they got there somehow.
We've got so many amazing comments coming in, and we appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. Again, I know I keep saying just a couple more. Mark pointing out Montero and their keeper. I thought that Montero, if I was Brendan Rodgers, I'd be asking the question. His speed was ridiculous. And George has made me laugh here with this. He's saying, forget sending the first team, send the cleaner, Pat Bonner, 3 stewards and the girls for the Celtic shop to play Villa. So remains to be seen if Brendan Rodgers will do that. But just on Brendan Rodgers, seriously, to finish now, we're quick to batter managers and players when they don't do it. Brendan Rodgers came back and said, look, I'm here. One of the things is advancement in Europe. And he's done that.
It wasn't one of the things. It was the thing. It was the thing. And I wrote the other day, Daniel, that you could understand why. Because he knew that, I think it's fair to say, well, it's accurate to say that probably the majority of Celtic fans would have rather have just kept Ange Postecoglou than see Brendan return.
Yeah, I think so.
And he knew that. He knew he wasn't going to win any popularity contests. And on day one, you kind of felt, how do you sell this? Because Celtic fans were happier with Ange Postecoglou's version of Celtic than they were latterly towards the kind of dying embers of Brendan Rodgers' first stint. And it was, a period of absolute dominance. Brendan Rodgers won everything. Ange Postecoglou left for the treble. So where could Brendan go that would say, you know what, this is why, you know, I can give you something that the last guy couldn't. And the only thing that he could really sell at that point was this dream of making Celtic competitive in Europe, because that proved beyond even Big Ange. Then you kind of think in your own mind, well, what does competitive look like? And Brendan Rodgers never for a second was suggesting that Celtic could go into the Champions League and win it. I think restoring a bit of credibility, being seen again across the continent as, do you know what? Yeah, that's a difficult place. That's a place you don't want to go to. And he's achieved that in this campaign. Yeah, look, and I'll say again, yes, Celtic got lucky with the fixtures. There's no doubt about it. You look at the league table, the three kind of worst teams in the 36 all had to go to Celtic Park at various points in this campaign, and Celtic have taken 9 points from these matches. So that's an element of good fortune. There's no doubt about that. But they still had to be good enough and competent enough to take those opportunities, to make the most of a little bit of lady luck. And they've done that. And at the end of the day, you know, nobody's going to be sitting analysing, but they only beat them and they were at the bottom and young boys didn't take any points. Nobody's looking at that. The big picture is, what does the table look like? And right now, Celtic are sitting where? 18th?
12th right now.
12?
I think so.
Saying I've not even had time to do my research. That is staggeringly successful. If anybody had said to Brendan Rodgers at the start of this, before a ball had been kicked, that after 7 games...
Sorry, I need to jump in. They are 18th.
I
don't know why I said 12th. Sorry. Apologies, sorry.
You're giving them 6 points for that one, innit?
Sorry, I don't know where I get 12 from.
By the way, the point still stands. He would have, everybody at Celtic, Brendan Rodgers included, would have bitten your hand off to be sitting in 18th position in this particular table with 1 game remaining.
Oh, aye.
If you've got the table in front of you, Daniel, where are Real Madrid, PSG, and Man City at this point?
So right now, Celtic are ahead of PSG. They're ahead of Man City. Obviously,
what was the result between them tonight?
It was 2-2 last I checked. City were it's 4-2 to City. It finished. Sorry, 4-2 to PSG.
4-2 to PSG.
PSG were 2-0 down. PSG won 4-2. I know. Sorry, I'm just trying to Google as I'm doing it. But PSG are still only 22nd in the league. Man City way down to 25th. So, I mean, Celtic and tied on points.
Man City could be eliminated.
Aye, tied on points with Juventus. Tied in points with Juventus, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and Borussia Dortmund, and just a point behind Brest, Lille, Feyenoord, Monaco, and Aston Villa. So it's pretty remarkable.
It's great to see one of our clubs punching above their weight, and that's what Celtic are doing in this competition. And as we said at 6 o'clock tonight when we were doing the show, wouldn't it just be terrific to be able to do these 2 shows late at night after these, you know, titanic European matches, and be able to say that two kind of biggest clubs have managed to achieve something which, you know, for all the ups and downs and for all people who like to knock Scottish football, that would mark really significant achievements. If you can look back and say, look, tell you what, 2 Scottish sides get through into the playoff stages of the 2 biggest competitions anywhere in club football.
Aye, I think that's a perfect note to end it on as well. But I'll just say, everyone watching, thanks so much for the comments. We'll be back again, Keith, tomorrow, twice. Another double bill of the Hotline Live will be on at 6 p.m. and again at 10 after Manchester United versus Rangers, when hopefully Rangers will make it a Scottish double in Europe this week. So we'll be back then.
I don't know if I've got the energy.
I know. Look, we've all got beds to get to. I'm actually really surprised. I mean, the comments have been great tonight. Everyone's expectedly Celtic fans are, you know, absolutely buzzing with that result. So, aye.
Listen, take these moments when they come, because, you know, it is a hard slog for Scottish clubs. You competing at this level in Europe, and you know the successes are there to be celebrated, and this is cause for celebration for Celtic fans tonight. You should enjoy it.
Definitely. As I say, we'll be back tomorrow. We hope you can join us then, and thanks very much for watching. Cheers.
Night.